Mucho, mucho más profundo de lo que podemos imaginar. David Icke. Conocí a David Icke hace 22 años. Una de mis pacientes dentales mencionó el mayor secreto. El título me intrigó y compré este libro. Hasta este momento no era una lectora, pero mi alma me empujó a leer este libro de 520 páginas. El Mayor Secreto es un libro único y con razón se lo conoce como el libro que cambiará el mundo. Nadie que lo lea volverá a ser el mismo. Este libro ciertamente me ha cambiado para siempre. En mi opinión, Kristin y Jean Nolan, los fundadores de Inspire Channel, están creando vídeos perfectos. Me inspiré para traducir estos vídeos al francés y al español, para poder compartir esta información crucial con las audiencias francesa y española que están despertando. Disfruta y comparte.
The biggest trap that researchers and seekers of truth can fall into is reaching at any point the idea that they've got it. We're not awake, we're awakening. Because as Socrates said, wisdom is knowing how little we know. Whatever we think we know, there's always more to know. And so I've gone on going deeper in the rabbit hole and asking where all this is coming from, what's going on in the world today. There's no way it could be orchestrated purely by people sitting around a table deciding their next move. It's much bigger than that. So how big? Where does it go? Where does it come from? What we see and therefore think we know about what's going on is only a fractional part of what there is to know. So what I've done over the last 32 years is span out from just the daily news and what's happening, what Klaus Schwab has said or Gates has said or any of these people. And I want to know what's behind them. I realized that beyond the global cult, the global secret society network, was a non-human force that was manipulating human society to its own ends. The agenda that's unfolding is anti-human. All the essential areas of human life are being targeted. If you awaken to expand your consciousness beyond the third dimension, beyond the fourth dimension, and you start enter the realms of the fifth dimension, you're then tapping in to information, knowledge, awareness, knowing that is not being tampered with by the simulation. And that's what we call waking up. That's when people start to see things. Why didn't I see it before? Because you were within the simulated, manipulated reality before. This cult, which is behind world events and the direction of the world and the chaos that's unfolding, is actually an extension, an expression of this lower astral consciousness and the entities that reside there. And so I then started looking at what we call reincarnation. Because my question then was, when I looked at the simulation part of this and how so many people in the simulation, because of the way it's manipulated, don't have a nice time. You go to South America, you go to Central America, you go to the Middle East, you go to Africa, you go to vast parts of Asia. A lot of those people are not having a good time and they're not having a life that they'd really like to live. So why would people, or consciousness, souls, if you like, want to come here for any reason? But the second thing, if you take reincarnation, is why would they keep coming back? But when I've looked at reincarnation, the evidence for it is very, very compelling. It's very, very, very solid when you look at the totality of it and all the experiences that people have had. So then I started questioning what the spirit world was, because I read a lot about people who had been regressed through hypnosis, etc., back to what they call the between life state. In other words, between experiences in this reality. And I started reading what people were saying, and the common themes were very, very compelling. And when I was reading these things, I was thinking, but that's a hierarchical prison as well. People were talking about, oh yeah, well, then I have to go in front of elders to discuss my last life, and then I have to go to this kind of school to learn more about this, that, and the other. And you're going, what? We are consciousness. We are all that is, has been, and ever can be. We are spirit, eternal spirit, connected to all spirit. We are ultimately all that is, has been, and ever can be. What's all this about? And then I looked at reincarnation again, and I looked at the basic story of it, which we're asked to accept if you believe in it. I certainly do. But hold on, if you take the universe, the size of the universe as projected by mainstream science, compared with that, planet Earth is the equivalent of a billionth of a pinhead. So you're telling me that you have to keep coming back onto this billionth of a pinhead to learn lessons so that you can reach a state of enlightenment which allows you not to have to do that anymore. Well, that makes no sense to me. I'm sorry. What was all infinity to explore, and you've got to do this on a billionth of a pinhead? What? So that made no sense. But on the same time, reincarnation, from the evidence that I've looked at over many, many years, does make sense that it's happening. So if I put reincarnation into another context, what if this level of the simulation is not the only level of the simulation? What if, when you leave the body, if you leave it in a certain vibrational state, you're still in the simulation, you're just in other levels of it? And so what's happening is that soul's consciousness is being recycled in and out of this reality over and over again. And basically, one of the things that it's doing through all the emotional trauma, upset that comes from that, and the way this world is structured, is that you're giving off low vibrational emotion and thought all the time. Depression, fear, the big one, anxiety, resentment, hatred. And what do those emotions resonate to in frequency terms? I say to the lower levels of the astral. That's where that energy is going. And what that's doing is feeding energy into this lower astral, which is the realm of that which is ultimately manipulating the world of the seen, the human world, via people like Schwab and Gates and all these other people. When you look at this global cult, this secret society network, it is serving the interests of this lower astral, lower fourth dimensional force. And we, by the effect of that manipulation, are feeding, empowering with our energy that lower astral force, which obviously brings back the image of Morpheus in the Matrix holding up the battery and saying the machines have turned humans into one of these. Remember that first Matrix movie where you see the babies and the energy that's being generated by the babies. It's symbolically exactly what's going on.
Alegrémonos, porque la locura que estamos viviendo es una ilusión que está obligando a más y más personas a despertar. Sin embargo, debemos tener compasión por aquellos que son incapaces de despertar, porque las inyecciones de ARNM han creado una separación del alma individual. La única manera de salir de la ilusión es mediante el incumplimiento absoluto. Los valientes han elegido conscientemente salir de la ilusión y continuarán su evolución de conciencia en la espiral ascendente de cristal. Sé que mi experiencia en la cárcel fue una bendición porque me obligó a dejar Canadá y lo que se percibía como una vida perfecta de una dentista muy exitosa y madre de 2 hijos maravillosos. Accedí al coraje que había dentro de mí, me abandoné a mi alma y salté a lo completamente desconocido. Hoy puedo ofrecer orientación a quienes eligen la vida en Colombia o Ecuador. Una estadía prolongada en Cascada Café Retiro cuesta $120 por semana. Durante tu estancia, expande tu conciencia con un taller de 2 días de conciencia, amor infinito. ¿Quién soy yo? ¿Y qué demonios he venido a hacer en esta tierra? Realizarme. Aprende sobre la milagrosa nuez de Sacha Inchi. Esta planta oleaginosa tiene el mayor contenido de proteínas con todos los aminoácidos y ácidos grasos esenciales para el máximo bienestar de la salud humana. Finalmente, ofrezco odontología reconstructiva a un precio muy económico. Me guían las enseñanzas de Sri Aurobindo y la Madre. Desde el 29 de febrero de 1956, la supermente ha estado operativa en la Tierra como un poder evolutivo activo. Una nueva fase de evolución ha comenzado en medio del colapso del viejo mundo. La conciencia, amor infinito, es una invitación a participar en una aventura de conciencia sin precedentes. ¿Te unirás a nosotros? Amor infinito.